Hello everyone, welcome back to Liz's Reading Corner, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Liz and I like books, and today I should probably warn you, sit down if you're not already sitting. Long-time viewers and friends who watch my videos, you are going to be shocked. I have decided, because I have so many projects or so many challenges that I'm trying to do right now, I have actually decided to do a TBR for June. Crazy, I know. Absolutely wild. This never happens. As a mood reader, it is not something I would typically do, like make a TBR, because I have found that once I put a book on a TBR, I don't want to read it anymore. So this is a huge thing. I'm trying to take control of the many projects that I have going, and so TBR it is, basically. That's the only option that I have. So I have 4 books on the Libby app that I want to read, and I have 9 physical books that I would like to get read this month. Normally on May was a bit different because May was absolute bedlam, and June's probably not going to be much better, especially when it comes to uni. But May I only read, I think, 7 books. Normally I would read about 10 to 15, especially if I'm reading ebooks, because like most people, I read ebooks much faster than I read physical books. And if I have difficulties, especially if the physical book is like a really big book, or like a really chunky book, if it is just too much for me, either because it's too difficult to hold, or I'm just getting that thing where in my mind it's taking too long, and so then my reading just gets slower and slower, I will move to an ebook just to get a physical book read. So just because I have physical books on my TBR doesn't mean that they won't end up being ebooks. But I might really quickly get through the ebooks. So the first book I have in the Libby app, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well. I'm reading Black Powder War by Naomi Novik. This is the 3rd book in the Temeraire series. I can't really say too much because anything I say will basically give it away, but suffice to say, we're back with Temeraire. Things don't go as planned. I'm on page 24 already, so apparently that's 7% of the way through. So I've already started, like I said, I've already started reading. When my library came up with a notification to say that they had this book, because when I first searched for it, they didn't actually have copies of this book, I probably yelled a lot louder than I should have. I was very excited to just be able to read more Temeraire, and I was at the stage where I was actually just going to go and buy the ebooks or the books because I just wanted to read them so much. Next is Nettle and Bone. That's kind of working. So next is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I've loved almost everything I've read of T. Kingfisher. Hopefully this will be just as good. I guess we'll find out. I actually don't know what Nettle and Bone is about. I exclusively borrowed it because it's a T. Kingfisher book. That's it. This next one is I'm borrowing for the exact same reason. It's purely because of the author. I don't know what this is about at all, and it is Sundial by Katarina Ward. I have read, I think, 2 of her books now, but the first book that I read, which was Last House on Needless Street, was phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to reading more of Katarina Ward's books. And the last one is, when it loads, the last one is Tress of the Emerald Sea. Apparently this is a standalone of Brandon Sanderson's. I am trying to get through the many books in the Cosmere series, I think it is. So I'm reading through Mistborn, the first Mistborn trilogy. I'm up to book 2, I think. I had to put it down because at the time it was just too much and it was overwhelming me. But I'm going to pick that up again soon and try that again. I am very excited to read more Brandon Sanderson books. I do love his writing. I love that you have this big build-up, and then reading through that big build-up, you're rewarded at the end with just this phenomenal writing. So hopefully Tress of the Emerald Sea will scratch that itch that I have to read Brandon Sanderson without actually delving into one of his bigger books. So next is a book off of my physical TBR. This was gifted to me as a Christmas present. It's not a book I would normally, once I looked into what it was, not a book I would normally read, but I really want to try this purely because some of my favorite people gifted it to me. And it is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is a romantasy book. Almost everyone knows who she is, what she writes, and just how many books she has written. So I don't think it really needs much of an introduction. And I promised myself that I would get to this book at least, if not, what's the second one? House of Sky and Breath this year. So at the very least, I'll be reading this one this year, and I will be doing a vlog about this. You'll be seeing that very soon because I'll be reading this very soon. And then I have a big stack of library books that I need to get through. I'm not going to put these in any particular order because I won't be reading them in this order. There is a lot of new releases actually in this, which is really exciting, and a lot of books that I'm really looking forward to reading. And I'm kind of having to like hold myself back from just starting all of them at the same time, because as much as I can read like 6 or 7 books at a time, I can't actually keep track of 8 or 10. So that's too much even for me. But anyway, I have The Ministry of Time by, who was it by? Kayleigh Bradley. This, I don't even remember why I borrowed it, but it seemed really interesting. I think someone I watched read it. Anyway, I can't remember why, but I borrowed it. The blurb says, in the near future, a disaffected civil servant is offered a lucrative job in a mysterious new government ministry. Her role is to work as a bridge, living with, assisting, and monitoring the expat known as 1847, Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died in Sir John Franklin's doomed expedition to the Arctic, so he's a little disoriented to find himself alive and surrounded by outlandish concepts such as washing machine, Spotify, and the collapse of the British Empire. During a long, sultry summer, he and his bridge move from awkwardness to genuine friendship to something more. But as the true shape of the project that brought them together begins to emerge, Gore and the bridge are forced to confront their past choices and imagined futures. Can love triumph over the structures and histories that have shaped them, and how do you defy history when history is living in your house? I think I got this because it is listed as at the library as like a historical science fiction novel. It's going to be interesting given that it's romance. I'll be curious to see just how much romance or how much of a love story is in this one. Okay, so the next one is another new release, and it is The Silence Factory by Bridget Collins. This is, I believe, a horror novel or a like sci-fi post-apocalypse. I can't remember. I think it's a horror novel. It's a horror. I'm pretty sure it's a horror. I can't remember. This is another book that someone I watch on YouTube read recently, and I think they liked. I can't remember, but it made me, or maybe it was put on their TBR, something like that. Anyway, and YouTube put it on my radar anyway, and so the second that I saw it, I had to borrow it, and this is yet another book that I can't wait to read. So this is a new release from this year. The blurb says, Henry dreams of silence, a world without the clattering of carriages through cobbled streets, the distant cries of drunken brawls, the relentless ticking of the clock. When he meets a fascinating, mysterious gentleman who sells just that, precious silk that can drown out the clamour of the world and everything Henry is so desperate to escape. Summoned to Sir Edward's secluded factory to try to cure his young daughter's deafness, Henry is soon drawn deeper and deeper into the origins of this otherworldly gift, a gift that has travelled from ancient Mediterranean glades to English libraries. Ignoring repeated warnings from the girl's secretive governess, he allows himself to fall under the spell of Sir Edward and his silk. But when he learns its true cost, will it be too late to turn back? I'm really excited. It's super interesting. Just the cover is itself really interesting, and yeah, I can't wait to read it. Next is an oldie, but apparently a goodie. I haven't read it yet. So next is an older book, Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. I love the Hannibal Lecter movies. They were some of my favorite movies as a teenager and young adulthood. Anthony Hopkins, or Sir Anthony Hopkins, is one of my favorite actors, so he really helped to bring Hannibal alive, obviously, in the movies, but I've never actually read the books, and so this year I am going to read through the Hannibal Lecter books, and obviously Red Dragon is the first one, so that one is on my list. These are a part of finishing the book series that I'm in the middle of, and so this one is The Empire of Gold by Shannon Chakraborty, and also The River of Silver, which is the short stories that are accompany basically the Day of a Bad trilogy. This is the final book in the trilogy. I did just recently read the first two, so I'm taking a little bit of a break. I did start reading this one, but I'm only, I think, like 40 pages in, if that. 50. So I'm 53 pages in. So I will be getting through this one this month, definitely, and I'm really excited to finally pick up the River of Silver, as well, which, like I said, is just a collection of short stories from all of the different characters in the Day of a Bed trilogy. I have The Art of Prophecy by, who is this, Wesley Chu. This one was put on my radar thanks to YouTube again. But again, I can't remember who it was that read it. One day I will actually remember to write them down. I know I've said this before, but I still haven't started writing them down, so that is definitely something I need to do. But anyway, the blurb says, the prophecy is clear. Wen Jian is the chosen one, born to defeat the immortal eternal Khan and save their kingdom. The only problem is that the prophecy is wrong. Jian has been raised in splendor, trained by the best warriors and celebrated before a single battle has been won. When the prophecy is proven to be incorrect, Jian still has to find a way to succeed and may even become a hero in his own right. To save the kingdom, an unlikely band of heroes rise. Tai Shi, an old Grand Master who swore her days of battle were over, Sali, a warrior re-evaluating her allegiances, and Tisami, an assassin with questionable values. Together, the four embark on a journey more wondrous than any prophecy could foresee. This gives me Del Toro Quest vibes, but for adults. So that's going to be really interesting to read. I'm hoping to get, in all honesty, I'm hoping to get through all of these books this month, but it's more like definitely a loose TBR. So if I don't get to them, it's not the end of the world. Like with everything that I do, I kind of just, especially when it comes to books and reading, it's just I would like to do this. If I don't get to it, or if something else kind of piques my interest much more than the books that I am reading or that are on my TBR, then I will actually read that first. But for the most part, I will get through these books. The last two are also new releases. So I have The Unmaking of June Farrow. This is a book that I've seen a lot of mixed reactions to. Most of the people that I watch on YouTube didn't actually like it, which was a bit surprising because almost everyone that I have seen on Instagram that has read this has actually really enjoyed this. But anyway, the blurb says, in the small mountain town of Jasper, North Carolina, the Farrow women are known for their thriving flower farm and the mysterious curse that has haunted them for generations. When Susanna Farrow disappeared, she left her daughter June to be raised by her grandmother. Everyone in Jasper is certain it's only a matter of time before she finds the same end, but June has kept secret that her unraveling has already begun. After her grandmother's death, June follows a series of clues that link her mother's disappearance to the town's dark secret, leading finally to a red door. Behind it may lead the answer to the mysteries that have always lingered like a dark shadow. Upon crossing the threshold, June embarks on a journey that will not only change both the past and the future, but entangle her fate and her heart in a star-crossed love. Hopefully this is not a second in a series. No, cool. So, The Unmaking of June Farrow. So next is another new release, or this is the last one actually on my TBR right now, and it is Extinction by Douglas Preston. This, I can't remember why. I think I put this on my list of most anticipated novels to read. But anyway, the blurb says, Erebus Resort, occupying a magnificent 100,000-acre valley deep in the Colorado Rockies, offers guests the experience of viewing woolly mammoths, Irish elk, and giant ground sloths in their native habitat, brought back from extinction through the magic of genetic manipulation. When a billionaire's son and his new wife are kidnapped and murdered in the Erebus backcountry by what is assumed to be a gang of eco-terrorists, Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Francis Cash partners with County Sheriff James Colcord to track down the perpetrators. As the killings mount and the valley is evacuated, Cash and Colcord must confront an ancient, intelligent, and malevolent presence at Erebus, bent not on resurrection, but extinction. I think this is crime, but I think it is also horror with science fiction, obviously, because they brought animals back from extinction. So I'm also very excited to read this. I'm actually excited to read basically everything on my TBR, if I'm honest. That's not to say that I'm not normally excited about the books that I have in my list or like my shelves to read, especially when it comes from the library. Reading through the Goodreads most difficult novels, that has been a bit of a chore, really, when it comes to reading. I understand why a lot of the books on there are considered like difficult novels to read, especially because most of them are 100 years old or older. And so the writing and just the publishing styles and like the editing styles were very different, and just the way that books were like published were very different. And obviously, like I said, the writing style is very different. So it's been a bit of a chore for the last couple of months trying to get through most difficult novels to read. I don't know if I will actually get to any this month. I was considering just having a month off just to try and have like a little bit of a break and just read more books that I am really interested in reading. But that said, like I said before, I never really know exactly, excuse the washing machine in the background. It is one of the few days that we've had where it's actually sunny and not raining, and because it's the middle of winter, I want to try and hang as much washing on the line as possible. So yeah, that being said, I lost my train of thought. So I never, like my TBRs, or like the books that I have in my physical shelves, or even like my ebooks, they're never like a solid, this is what I'm going to read this month. It's more like a fluid, this is kind of what I'm looking at reading this month, which is why I never normally do TBR videos, especially because I feel really bad when I watch TBR videos and the people end up reading their TBRs, and I don't normally work that way. So we'll see how this month goes. If this works, I might do more. Otherwise, this may be the only TBR video that I ever make. Congratulations for watching. Anyway, that being said, have you read any of these books? What were your thoughts on them? Do you have any books that you think I would enjoy? If you do, please let me know in the comments down below. If you like what I do here, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.